Am I the bad one for refusing to share my wedding day with my sibling who got engaged last week? I, 30F, am getting married in 3 months to the love of my life, Jack, 32M. We've been planning this wedding for over a year, and everything is finally falling into place. The venue is booked, the invites have been sent, and all the little details have been carefully chosen. I've poured so much time, effort, and money into making this day special. However, my younger sister, Sarah, 27F, just got engaged last week to her boyfriend, Mark, 29Emma. Don't get me wrong, I'm happy for her. Mark is a great guy, and they've been together for a couple of years now. But here's where things get complicated. At a recent family dinner, Sarah casually mentioned that since I'd already done all the work for my wedding, it would be super convenient if we just made it a double wedding. She said it with a laugh, but then she started listing all the reasons why it made sense. The family would only have to travel once, we'd save money, and it would be a fun bonding experience for us as sisters. I was completely blindsided. I told her that this was my wedding day, something Jack and I had been planning for a long time, and that I wasn't comfortable sharing it. Sarah looked hurt and said, "I thought you'd be excited to celebrate together. It's not like I'm trying to take over, it would just be a joint celebration." My parents immediately jumped in to side with her. My mom said it was a great idea, and that I should learn to share because family is more important than any one person's big day. My dad added that it would be selfish of me to hog all the attention when we could make it a memorable day for both of us. Jack, thankfully, is 100% on my side. He told me later that night that it's ridiculous for anyone to expect us to share our wedding day, especially when Sarah's engagement just happened and she hasn't even started planning anything. The tension in the family is unbearable now. Sarah is acting distant and keeps making passive-aggressive comments about how some people can't compromise. My mom is pressuring me to do the right thing and has even hinted that they might not contribute financially to the wedding if I don't agree to the double wedding idea. I feel like I'm losing my mind here. On one hand, I don't want to damage my relationship with my sister or my parents. But on the other hand, this is my wedding day, and I've worked so hard to make it perfect. Am I the bad one for refusing to share my wedding day with Sarah? Should I just suck it up and let her join in? Or am I justified in wanting this day to be about Jack and me? Update 1. First of all, thank you to everyone who commented on my original post. Reading through your insights gave me some much-needed clarity, and I feel less alone in this situation. Unfortunately, things have only gotten more complicated. After standing my ground about not wanting to share my wedding day, my mom called me for what she claimed would be a civil conversation. Spoiler alert, it wasn't. She started off by saying she was disappointed in me for being so selfish and ungrateful. According to her, Sarah is just trying to make her wedding planning easier and save everyone time and money. When I reminded her that Sarah literally hasn't planned anything and that Jack and I have been working on our wedding for over a year, she brushed it off as me being too rigid. Then came the bombshell. My mom said that if I didn't agree to a double wedding, she and my dad might reconsider their financial contribution. I was stunned. I told her that if they wanted to withdraw their support, that was their choice, but I wasn't changing my plans. She got quiet for a moment and then said something that broke my heart. "You're making it very clear where your priorities lie, and they're not with this family." The next day, I got a call from Sarah. I thought she might want to talk things through, but instead, she accused me of turning mom and dad against her. She said that all she wanted was to celebrate our love together and that I was ruining what could have been a beautiful memory. When I tried to explain how hurtful her expectations were, she interrupted me and said, "Well, I guess we'll see who the family sides with." Now, I'm stuck in the middle of this ridiculous family feud. My parents and Sarah are acting like I'm the villain, while Jack and his family have been incredibly supportive. Jack even offered to cover any expenses my parents might pull out, just so I wouldn't feel pressured. To make matters worse, Sarah has been posting cryptic messages on social media about selfish people and fake family bonds. A few mutual friends reached out asking what's going on, and I feel like I'm constantly having to defend myself. At this point, I'm considering uninviting Sarah from the wedding entirely. I don't want drama on what's supposed to be one of the happiest days of my life. But part of me feels guilty for even thinking that. Should I just cut Sarah and my parents out of the wedding plans altogether? Or is there a way to salvage this situation without completely compromising my boundaries? Update 2. Things have gone from bad to worse. After the last round of family drama, I decided to take a step back and focus on Jack and our wedding plans. I thought that giving everyone space would help calm things down, but I couldn't have been more wrong. A few days after my first update, my mom and dad invited me over for what they called a family discussion. I should have known it was a trap. When I arrived, Sarah was already there, and she looked smug, like she knew something I didn't. My parents started by saying they wanted to find a compromise that would make everyone happy. But their idea of a compromise? Let Sarah walk down the aisle first, share the reception, and split the costs equally. They tried to sell it as a win-win scenario, claiming it would save us money and bring the family closer together. I was floored. I told them that this wasn't a compromise. It was a complete disregard for all the hard work and planning Jack and I had done for our wedding. I reminded them that Sarah didn't even have a date or venue until she decided to piggyback on ours. But Sarah, ever the master manipulator, started crying and said I was being cruel and trying to make her feel unwelcome in her own family. Then my mom dropped the second bombshell. If I didn't agree to share the day, they wouldn't be attending my wedding at all. My dad sat there silently, clearly uncomfortable, but he didn't back me up. Sarah, on the other hand, looked positively triumphant. I calmly told them that I wouldn't be changing my plans. I said I loved them and wanted them to be there, but if they couldn't support me on this, I wasn't going to beg them to come. That's when Sarah exploded. She accused me of being jealous of her engagement, of always trying to steal the spotlight, and even of turning the family against her by manipulating Jack into paying for everything. It was like the floodgates had opened. All the resentment she'd apparently been harboring for years came pouring out. She brought up petty childhood arguments, accused me of being a spoiled brat, and even mocked Jack's family for being too perfect. I couldn't take it anymore. I told them that if they couldn't respect my decision, then they wouldn't be welcome at the wedding. I walked out before they could say anything else, shaking with anger and heartbreak. Since then, I've been bombarded with texts and calls from extended family members. Sarah has been spreading her version of events, painting me as the unreasonable one, and now I'm getting guilt-tripped by everyone from aunts to cousins. One cousin even said, "You're the older sibling. Shouldn't you be setting an example?" Jack has been my rock through all of this. His family has offered to help with anything we might need, and they've reassured me that I'm not the bad guy here. But the thought of walking down the aisle without my parents there is crushing. I've started to wonder if I made the right call. Should I have just given in for the sake of keeping the peace? Or is it better to stick to my boundaries even if it means losing my family's support? Update 3. It's been a few weeks since the fallout, and I wish I could say things have gotten better, but they haven't. In fact, they've taken a turn I never imagined. After the disastrous family discussion, I tried reaching out to my parents one last time. I told them how much it would mean to me for them to be at my wedding, but I also made it clear that I wasn't willing to share the day with Sarah. Their response? "You're making us choose between our children, and we refuse to do that." I pointed out that by siding with Sarah and refusing to come unless I agreed to her terms, they were making a choice. But they wouldn't budge. They said they hoped I'd come to my senses and do what's best for the family. Meanwhile, Sarah has doubled down on her campaign against me. She's been posting vague, passive-aggressive messages on social media about selfish people ruining family bonds and how true love doesn't need a fancy wedding to shine. Of course, all her friends and followers have been chiming in with supportive comments, and a few have even messaged me directly to call me selfish or accuse me of bullying my sister. At this point, Jack and I decided we had to make a difficult choice to move forward without my side of the family. His parents have been incredibly supportive, stepping in to help us with the final wedding preparations. They've offered to walk me down the aisle if my dad doesn't show up, and I've honestly cried multiple times over their kindness. As for Sarah, I learned something that made everything click into place. A mutual friend told me that Sarah and her fiancé don't even have the money to plan a wedding of their own right now. Apparently, she's in a lot of debt from her last relationship, and her fiancé doesn't make much money either. The whole sharing The wedding idea wasn't just about stealing the spotlight, it was about avoiding the cost of hosting their own. Knowing that gave me clarity. This wasn't about family or love, it was about Sarah's entitlement and manipulation. She's always been the type to take what she wants without caring how it affects others, and this was no different. The hardest part has been accepting that my parents are enabling her behavior. I've spent so much of my life trying to be the good daughter, hoping for their approval and support. But now I see that their idea of family means sacrificing my happiness for Sarah's benefit, and I can't do that anymore. The wedding is in 2 weeks, and I've decided to send my parents one final invitation. I've told them they're welcome to come, but only as guests, not as enforcers of Sarah's demands. If they choose not to attend, I'll have to accept that and move on. It breaks my heart, but I refuse to start my marriage with regrets or resentment. Jack and I deserve a day that's about us, not about appeasing someone who's never shown me the same courtesy. As for Sarah, she's not invited anymore. I've blocked her on social media and cut off all contact. She's made it clear she doesn't respect me, and I don't see the point in keeping someone like that in my life, even if she's my sister. I'm excited for the wedding, even if it's bittersweet. I'm marrying the love of my life, and that's what matters most. Thank you to everyone who's supported me through this. Your advice and encouragement have meant the world to me. What do you think? Did I make the right call? Or should I have tried harder to mend things with my family?